Hey everybody, and welcome in to the early show on Hangouts on Air or Hangouts Live. Don't really know what it is, but I'm Noah Taborda. That's Jake Liker over there in Los Angeles. I'm in Evanston, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. And it is, well, for me, it's Saturday morning, the day of the round of 32, or the third round, depending on what you want to call it. And for Jake, of course, it is still Friday. But nonetheless, both of our teams play tomorrow. The Bruins for him and the Buckeyes for me. So we're excited. Jake, how do you feel about the round of 32?
Bursting with joy.
It's absolutely bursting.
Can I just tell you that this entire show is a lie? This isn't the early show. This is the late show. It is 11:07 p.m.
It is the early show.
I'm done with your East Coast bias. But, let's just jump right into it. UCLA, I don't know how we ended up playing UAB. I don't know how we ended up here. I don't know how we ended up winning. I don't know how we ended up in the tournament in the first place. But, as we learned with Dayton today as well, if teams are given opportunities, they got to go out and take advantage of them. UCLA, they've been blessed twice, really. I mean, I'm still not sure if that was the right call with goaltending. And then they get to play UAB. So, we'll see. As I said over Twitter earlier, the only reason I'm glad we won the way we did against SMU is that we still get to go out there and play with the, prove to everyone that we belong here mindset.
All right, yeah, from my point of view, Buckeyes got the win over VCU, and nothing too controversial about it, but now we have to play Arizona, and it is a very real possibility. In fact, it's likely that we'll go out this round. So while I am intrigued, I am cautious knowing that this could be the end of the season. Of course, if we lose, there's always a national championship to fall back on, because I'm pretty sure we won a national championship in the sport about 2 months ago. I think so. Not 100% sure. It was the first college football playoff, I think. That was it. All right. Let's get into it, and let's start with the first game of the day. And, of course, Jake, that is...
The college football championship, of course.
Yes, that is...
literally all that matters.
Yes. Let's break down next year, Jake. Who will make it? No.
Just going to ignore how UCLA has continued to win in just great fashion. Gymnastics team doing well. Happy for them. Are you laughing?
That's where Jake hangs his hat. Jake, we bring up football and basketball, and Jake brings up gymnastics.
Yo, do not mess with Danusia Francis and Sophia De Jesus.
Don't mess with Ohio State wrestling. We're going to bring home the national title tomorrow.
Yeah, well, in basketball, they're going to need to pull something off against Arizona. As I told you earlier, I was at that game a few years ago between Ohio State and Arizona here in Los Angeles. Really great game. I still have the video on the phone. Although Ohio State won that game, I don't see that happening this year.
Well, that was a quick prediction for a future game, but we're going to start off with first game of the day. Your Bruins
We're doing that? Okay.
against the University of Alabama Birmingham, who pulled off a shocking upset over Iowa State in what was my least favorite game of the tournament, mainly because I thought that was one of the worst played games. I think that rebounding was atrocious. I expect a better effort from Iowa State. Iowa State came out with the attitude like, all right, it's UAB, no biggie. Let's just go out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
And I gotta hand it to them because they came out with this attitude they could just grab every rebound, and they got outboard, they got out hustled, they got outplayed.
I agree. I absolutely hate it when a 14 seed whose football team is just shut down socks an unsuspecting 3 seed by 1 point. I mean,
I didn't say I hated it. I said it was a bad game. I said it was
the worst game of the first round.
I said it was a poorly played game. I said it was I think it is one of the worst played games of this first round.
I heard this was the worst game of the first round. Sorry, round of 16.
Yes. I think this is one of the worst played games of the round of 32.
Worst
Or not
game
of the round of 30.
or
Round of
worst
4.
played?
I'm happy that UAB won. Don't get me wrong.
Worst game or worst played game?
Worst game and worst played game for me mean the same thing.
Oh,
Here are the stats. Both teams shot below 37% from the field. Both teams shot below 26% from three. A total, I mean, look at that. Look at the numbers for UAB. 52 rebounds to 37 rebounds. That is absurd. Both teams over 10 turnovers. UAB with 13. Both teams fouled a decent amount as well. And not a very high-scoring game either. For me, neither team really came out with an excellent play. I think what gave UAB the win is because of the fact that at the end of the day, Iowa State just couldn't grab a rebound for their life.
no one's denying it's a sloppy game, but my friend, I mean, if you're looking for a high quality of play and a 1-point win like this for a 14 seed over a 3 seed isn't gonna
I'm not
satisfy
saying that it's not impressive that a 14 seed beat a 3
No,
seed.
I know you're not. But if games like this aren't gonna satisfy you, then clearly the only bracket you should be
No, you
sticking
want to know
to
a game that satisfied me? Georgia State Baylor. Sure, it was low scoring, but it was a lot better played.
To complain about a finish like that between Iowa State and UAB is just completely antithetical with the is that a word? Hold on. We're gonna pause
I
for a
don't
second.
understand. You can't fault me on saying that I don't. That game was one of the worst played games. It was.
There's a difference though. You can't say that was one of the worst games of the first round.
For me, that's worst games means how you played it. It's how the teams played it. And that was one of, by my definition of worst games. By your definition of worst games, sure, maybe it's not the worst game.
Okay, good news. Antithetical is a word. So, to complain about that game would be antithetical to the point of March Madness. People,
No,
you know,
I'm not saying that it's not exciting that UAB.
There are people who don't get March Madness and why it's so entertaining. Like, well, like there was a girl in my English class. She's like, well, what's the big deal? Why does everyone care? Here is why. If we're gonna go with the boost,
I wrote a paper on the beauty of March Madness. Don't start telling me why people love March Madness.
if we're going for the bourgeois point of it, and for people who don't understand why March Madness is so great, and this will come full circle, I promise you. It's because we live in a society in America in which upward mobility is more difficult than it could be, and everybody likes to see when the little guy that isn't supposed to make it to the top is actually able to do that in this sort of manifestation of athleticism and competition and young spirit. We don't get to see that in real life nearly as often as we'd like to. And I think, yes, it's not going to be pretty. But just because it's not pretty between UAB and Iowa State doesn't mean that it's a bad game.
Jake, don't get me wrong. I am happy and it was exciting to see UAB win, but it was a badly played game. There is no way around that. And your definition of bad game and my definition of bad game are two different things. I have made it very clear what my definition of bad game is.
That's fair.
By your definition of bad game, it is not a bad game.
A bad game in my mind is, let's see, what was a really bad game? Iowa Davidson. Oof. Oof.
All right. By your definition of bad game, it's not a bad game. It was close. It was down to the wire. But in terms of how it was played, it was a poorly played game.
Okay. Well, we agree on something then.
All right. Good. Well, nonetheless, we just talked about UAB for a couple of minutes there. There's another team in this matchup too. Not just UAB. UAB is not playing by themselves. We've got UCLA, and of course, probably the most controversial ending to a game. The goaltend that cost SMU a tournament, marking the second straight year that SMU goes out of the tournament. I mean, last year they didn't make the tournament, but second straight year that they're going to end their season on a really sour note. Last year, of course, because let's not count the NIT as actually like being of a positive to them. They were pretty upset that they didn't make the tournament.
Rule 9-17.
Sports Illustrated.
Pull yourself together.
You know how I feel about those autoplays. You know how I feel about the autoplays. I think they shouldn't be there. I don't think they should be there.
Fine. All right. I'm going to name you a bunch of games from the Battle for Atlantis tournament earlier this year in the Bahamas, and I want you to tell me which one is the tournament preview. Robert Morris, Louisiana Monroe. Coastal Carolina, Louisiana Monroe. Robert Morris, Chattanooga. Coastal Carolina, Chattanooga. Just stop me right. Wisconsin, UAB. Florida, Georgetown. UCLA, Oklahoma. Butler, North Carolina. Wisconsin, Georgetown. Oklahoma, Butler. Wisconsin, Oklahoma. Georgetown, Butler. North Carolina, UCLA.
I'm not going to stop you, by the way.
North Carolina, Florida, and UCLA, UAB. Only one of those games is a tournament preview. How on earth is it UCLA, UAB?
Oh, agreed. Just so everybody knows how the game went down, I'm going to share my screen. This is a video.
Oh. You can do that. Oh, nice.
Just seeing the goaltending call right there. He touches it. Ball, of course, had no chance of going in. They did call it.
Okay.
Look at the ball. Look at the ball. It's way outside of the edge of the rim.
Slow down.
Look at that.
Also, this is a terrible quality gift. What on earth is this?
It's a great angle gift. That's the best angle you can possibly get.
Maybe it's just because you're sharing your screen. It just looks bad here.
It's probably a lot choppier for you than it is for me.
It's very choppy.
That would make
sense. Slow it down. It could have hit the rim and anything could happen.
I hit the rim, but it could have hit the rim, but the chances of going in, it wasn't going to go in.
It probably wasn't going to go in, and that's why it was a bad choice to goaltend. And you had to feel so bad for Yannick Moreira because we saw how he reacted after the game. You can share your screen. Can you pull that up?
What?
Yannick Moreira apologizing during his press conference. That was one of the most heartbreaking things. You know, you thought he was going to go out there and complain. He was a senior. He had just been bounced in that fashion.
Yeah.
And yet he handled it with such grace, and he just wanted to. I think it was Seth Davis who said this on one of the March Madness shows on one of the Turner networks. I believe he said, you just want to reach out and give this kid a hug when you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, here's what he said. I thought I had the ball in my hands, Moreira said. It's all my fault. I should have let the ball hit the rim. I take the blame on myself. I shouldn't have made that mistake. As a senior, you can't make those mistakes at the end of the game.
But the way he says that, by the way, if you watch the video of him saying it, he's holding back tears, he's choked up, and at the end, he just, as soon as he finishes the last sentence, he just buries his head in his hands and starts crying. It's really just heartbreaking.
All right, well, we now know how the two teams got there. And now they match up in what is one of the more interesting, maybe not the highest level of quality game, but it's one of the more interesting matchups. I mean, who would have thought UAB, UCLA would be playing in the tournament? Let alone that UAB or UCLA would be playing in the tournament. Not they wouldn't be playing each other, that they're even in the tournament, but they are. And they're playing each other for a spot in the Sweet 16 of March Madness. So, Jake, I'm going to start with you. Who wins?
Okay, so after all of that, including me reading every Battle for Atlantis game, us getting into an argument about UAB, and then nearly getting into a whole nother argument about goaltending in the UCLA game, it is with the sincere regret that I inform you that I am no way going to tempt the basketball gods and predict a game involving my own team. I will be able to give you 15 predictions. This is the 16th that I cannot. I apologize. You don't have to predict the Ohio State game. I can't do it.
Well, I'm going to do mine. I picked all of the Buckeye games during the playoff run, and we won.
Yeah, that didn't really... Oh, really? You picked that you would lose to Virginia Tech?
No, during the Buckeye playoffs. Playoffs. The two games? The playoffs. The ones where you play off.
I picked all the games in the playoff run.
That's two games. You just said don't pick one of your own teams, and I did. I picked two very...
Two games isn't a run, and B, when you say all of the games...
Okay, fine. I picked the two games. Jake, remember, these aren't just two games. It may or may not be the two games that matter most in the year. I mean, one of the games was for a national championship.
Literally, you know what? That's it. I'm done with this. Let's pull up the most recent national championship UCLA has won.
Oh my god. Alright.
I lose track of them easily.
UCLA,
Personally,
UAB. Look,
I do think UCLA will win. In full disclosure,
here's what I have to say. Here's what I have to say. UAB won because they got a ton of rebounds. UCLA is 26th in the country. I mean, that's not like absolutely at the top, but that's pretty good. That's pretty. That's really good. And I think this UCLA team is just, frankly, a much better rebounding team. I think you'll be able to lock down UAB. The issue that Iowa State had was an inability to get rebounds. UCLA has seen what UAB does. They'll have that advantage when it comes to rebounding schemes, and they're going to get the boards. And that'll be the difference, and that's why UCLA is going to win, because UAB doesn't have the offense. UAB doesn't have the offense. They relied on those second chance opportunities. I don't think they get them, and I think the Bruins move on to the Sweet 16, where they will either face Gonzaga or Iowa. All right. While Jake continues his search, we move on.
I found it. Our most recent one, as I believed, was boys water polo. I'm also being informed. I'm looking at this because I'm on the UCLA championship notes. In 1954, the UCLA football team earned a share of the national title with a 9-0 record and a #1 ranking in the UPI football poll, while Ohio State was ranked #1 in the AP poll. Owing to rules in place at the time, UCLA was unable to face off Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, which would have resulted in one or the other being declared national champ.
That's so nice, too, that we somehow managed to make it so it wasn't a full UCLA trophy. Let's go! All right. Top left now. Headed over to the one, the only, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Dude,
Trying to keep it. We gotta at least mention it. Look,
okay.
Cincinnati. You tried hard. You played your hearts out. There's a couch waiting for you back at your campus. Enjoy the rest of March Madness at home.
Here's the thing: Cincinnati plays ugly, and they wouldn't have it any other way. Ugly is not going to get out done in Kentucky. You're going to have to play some pretty basketball. I mean, I'm talking about a work of art. Unless you are prepared to put your performance on display at the Louvre, you are not beating Kentucky. It's ugly basketball, I hate to say. And now working at some teams, I just don't see Cincinnati being Kentucky's kryptonite. You never know.
All right, next up, it's the Buckeyes of Ohio State against Arizona, as Jake said. Played a couple of years ago, Quentin Ross won on a game-winning 3. In that run, Ohio State had way too many close games, and then, of course, in the Elite Eight, their run came to an end against Wichita State in their first deep run. Now it's a different circumstance. Now
the first deep run. Now, I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you remember.
Really, they had a deep run besides that.
Remember the year George Mason made it to the Final Four as an 11 seed? Did you know that they faced a 10 seed in the Sweet 16?
All right, Sweet 16 is a little bit. A deep run is Final Four or Elite Eight. Sweet 16.
I know, but it's a fun piece of trivia that's about.
That's true. All right. So information from Carl Mogline that the uniform bracket is his highest. It's ours, actually. We did it together. So now he's going to take credit for it. All right. Well, yeah. Ohio State, Arizona, different circumstances this time. Last time Ohio State was the 2 seed. This time Arizona's the 2 seed. Ohio State comes in not being the favorite. But they'll go as far as their star guard, the best guard in the country, D'Angelo Russell, can take them. I'll let Jake go first as the non-Buckeye fan to break down this game.
Is he really the best guard in the country?
Oh, yes, by a good margin. Don't get me started. We already had this conversation.
Are you sure it's not?
Somebody brought up DeLon Wright. Oh,
sure it's not DeLon Wright.
The only other guy I would even consider is either Tyus Jones or Jaren Grant.
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, I would say they'll go as far as Ohio State's guard will carry them. He can have an amazing game and they can still not win, though. That's the problem when they're facing a team against Arizona. like Arizona, Ohio State's defense is going to need to show up in this game. I will be rooting hard for Ohio State because if Arizona loses, ticket prices will drop dramatically for a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games, which are once again in Los Angeles. So we will see. I am picking the Wildcats in that one, but again, I expect that Honest Club to really give them a run for their money.
Mhm.
And I think Ohio State needs to make better decisions at the end of it. I think one of your players, who was it that fouled out in the double foul call late in the game?
Oh, just Sean Tate?
Tate's got to play better. Tate's got to play
Tate's got to
smarter.
be better. The reason we were in that game was because of him.
Tate's got to play smarter.
Got to play smarter. To be fair, the VC, he may have made the foul there. They made the right call by not calling it flagrant. Because that VC, if this was soccer, he would have faced a massive fine.
Yeah, this is Zlatan. Unbelievable. God, I hate Chelsea. Chelsea's like the Duke of European football right now. Oh, I returned my Duke Sucks book to a friend. It's not really my book. It's his. It's a great book. Check it out.
All right. My turn.
Yeah, Arizona.
Whew. You know, I think I got a lot from VCU. We're an overachieving team already by making it this far. We're overachieving. D'Angelo Russell will most likely be gone. I think we'll be better next year, though, because even without D'Angelo Russell, we're bringing in a class of four, I believe, 4-star recruits. Maybe 5 4-star recruits. So we have one of the top, I believe, 5 classes. So that's a big haul right there, building up for the future. But I got to credit Thad Matta with what he's done for this team, bringing us this far. Unfortunately, what we've done this far isn't going to cut it against Arizona. We're going to need a better game. You're absolutely right. We're going to need Deshaun Tate to be in the game because he is our best post player. And it's going to be tough because you've got a guy like Tarkowski, who is one of my top 3 favorite college basketball players down low, a guy who can dominate the boards physically. And we don't have somebody to match up with the height that he has. 7 foot tall against Amir Williams, who on a good day would be 6'10". It's not a favorable situation at all for us, but it's all about D'Angelo Russell. If he can come up big and he can spark us forward, I think we can beat them. We're going to need a big game from D'Angelo Russell. We're going to need a clean game, but the key is to keep Arizona off the free throw line. If we keep them off the free throw line, I think there's a very good chance that we can win the game. That's where they do a lot of damage. They do a lot of damage from the line. And it's not easy to stop them. You guys got like Stanley Johnson. You got T.J. McConnell. You got Gabe York. You've got a very good team.
I like T.J. McConnell. Not like T.J. McConnell. I just get a bad sense from him. Like you just get bad vibes from some people.
He reminds me of Aaron Kraft.
I haven't had bad vibes from a guy in college basketball this much since Mitch McGary in Michigan. And again, I'm sure
like Mitch McGary? I like Mitch McGary.
I'm sure they're both nice guys. I just got a really bad vibe from Mitch McGary, and I get a bad vibe from T.J. McConnell.
All right, look, I think at the end of the day, it'll be a close game, and I'm picking the Buckeyes. Why? And this may be slightly biased by the fact that the only person.
That's why.
It may be slightly biased by the fact that the only person with the perfect bracket picked us to win, and I also want us. I want a perfect bracket for that person. I really do. But also, I think we have what it takes. I don't think Arizona is unbeatable. I think what we've seen in this tournament already, we've seen teams struggle. I mean, sure, Arizona is far and away a better team, but they have lost to teams that they probably shouldn't have. They lost to UNLV. They lost at Oregon State. They lost at Arizona State. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Buckeyes could pull out a victory. It's very unlikely. And we're going to need a near-perfect game, but I think we needed the near-perfect game against VCU too, and we got bailed out, but I think this time we come in with a better attitude, a better game plan, and I think we come out with a victory.
We shall see. And with that, it will bring us to our first media timeout. By media timeout, it means me or Noah read something somewhat unrelated to the predictions about the first round. I'll start things off. because I just made up the segment on the spot, and I think first media timeouts. Solid. Sports Illustrated just wrote a new article. Pete Thamel. I'll just read the opening paragraph. Perhaps no coach is more aware of the mythical potential of the opening days of the NCAA tournament than Homer Drew. In 1998, Drew coached Valparaiso University to the Sweet 16 in a run that embodied all the hallmarks of March, an unfamiliar school slang traditional powers with the enduring power of a buzzer beater. To boot, Homer's son Bryce hit the game-winning three-point shot against Mississippi on a tip pass play called Pacer, arguably the seminal opening weekend moment in NCAA tournament history. That shot cemented Homer Drew, the folksy coach from the funny-sounding school, as an eternal March touchstone. Well, Homer Drew's got two sons. One who made that three, Bryce Drew. The other, it would be Scott Drew. Bryce Drew is currently the coach of Valparaiso. If you watched the game earlier today, Valparaiso had a chance to tie at the buzzer against Maryland. They couldn't get the shot off. It was taken away, and Maryland won that game by 3. You think that's tough for Dad Homer Drew? Guess what his other brother did? Yes, Scott Drew. He happens to be the coach at Baylor University. What a tough 2 days it's got to be for Homer Drew. First, his son over at Baylor really just gives away the game. And then his son Bryce could not coach his team to a victory. So Homer Drew can't win them all. Sorry about that.
My news is short and sweet. Clayton Kershaw lost part of his tooth. He was hit.
Oh, yeah, he took a line drive to the base, but kept playing.
Lost part of his tooth and stayed in the game.
Yep, he is my man. It was his birthday yesterday, by the way. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Clayton Kershaw.
Fun fact, and I tell everyone this, and they're so tired of hearing me say this. You probably already know what I'm going to say. I was at Clayton Kershaw's first game and turned to my dad and said, this 22 kid's going to be a Hall of Famer. We shall see.
Jake, I love how you won't make a prediction and then you're just going to say that he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
I was
Guys.
in 4th grade.
You know, Tim Lincecum said that, everybody thought Tim Lincecum was going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, he went back-to-back Cy Youngs, and look at him now.
As the French premier Georges Clemenceau said in World War I, we shall see.
Yeah, you've said that. As Jake has said at least 15 times during this video.
I am going to look that up because I don't want to misattribute that.
Alright, next game. Georgia State and Xavier. Georgia State, led by R.J. Hunter, the Hunter combo coach and player. And, of course, Kevin Ware back in the tournament. And this time a starter. R.J. Hunter hit a beautiful game-winning shot to beat Baylor, and this time they're taking on Xavier. I'll start this one off. I'm going to go short and sweet. I really didn't like Xavier from the beginning. And while the Big East has earned a bit more of my respect, I think Georgia State keeps the run going. I think they're able to beat Xavier. I think Xavier got off with a pretty easy matchup against Ole Miss, who matched up well. I think BYU would have been a lot more difficult. This time you get Georgia State. I think Georgia State puts a couple of points on the board early. I think they get off to a quick start, and while Xavier pushes back, I think the R.J. Hunter effect, I think that lasting momentum from the last game carries them through to the next round, and a matchup with the winner of Ohio State and Arizona, which in my case would be Ohio State. All right, Jake.
You know, everyone thinks Georgia State's like the Cinderella story coming here, and everyone's going to be rooting for them. But look, don't feel so bad if Xavier wins this game. Their star player, Stainbrook, he's not your typical athlete. Big, bulky, 6'10" guy, wears goggles. His tuition, because he's in graduate school and he's a senior, is 4 times less than that of his younger brother, who's a walk-on of the team and a freshman. He asked the school if it was okay if he gave up his scholarship to his brother.
Wow.
The school said yes. So how is Stainbrook paying for his education? He got a job. That's right. Stainbrook's an Uber driver. He's also pretty good at driving in the paint, too. We will see how that goes. So great storylines all over the place here. As I said to Noah earlier, I really think Ron Hunter's gotten caught up in this and all this. He's having fun with it, and I love it. And he's become one of those household names. But I think you can't afford to overlook Xavier. They're trying to make their 5th Sweet 16 since 2008. Xavier, it's improbable, it seems, that little Xavier, a team that was just in the middle of the pack in the Atlantic 10 a few years ago, is now in the Big East. And they're going to do it again. Great job, head coach Chris Mack's done over there.
So you're going Xavier?
I am going Xavier.
All right.
Xavier.
Next up, NC State, Villanova. Short and sweet, I'm going Nova. I think LSU could have beat them. I don't think NC State can. LSU is a big team. That would have given Villanova the mismatch. I don't think NC State has quite the same height and rebounding ability that LSU does. And as much as I dislike Nova, I'm giving it to them. And once again, I'm picking a Big East team. Big.
Just ask St. John's. Villanova loves to run away with the game in the second half. And if NC State plays the same way they did in the first half against LSU, it is going to be ugly. There will be blood in the streets. Archidiacono, one of the favorite themes to say in the tournament, and the Villanova Wildcats move on.
All right, next up. This is what hurts me about having more than one Big East team in a row. I'm picking another Big East team.
What's the matchup?
Georgetown, Utah. And I am picking another Big East team. This defies conventional wisdom, because Georgetown shouldn't be winning more than one game, let alone a game in the tournament. But this year really has defied conventional wisdom. After years where we've had at least 10 or so upsets, this is only like the second time in the past 10 years that we've had 5 upsets. That's unbelievable. I mean, to think that we've had, 17 was the seed number combined from the Final Four last year?
17.5 is the average composite seed number from the past 4 or 5 years.
It's still possible. It's still possible. Highly unlikely, but still possible. And how this year's going, it really doesn't look like we're going to have that. So I'm not going to go with conventional wisdom here. I was not impressed by Utah. Not in the slightest. I don't think DeLon Wright got going quick enough. And I was impressed by Georgetown. A lot of people had Eastern Washington. Georgetown came in, took care of business, got the win. And if there was any other year, I'd probably go Utah. I know a lot of people are going to go Utah. But I'm going to go with the Big East again. The Big East proved that they belong, much to my chagrin, but I'm going to go with the Georgetown Hoyas in the Sweet 16.
Full disclosure, I picked both Stephen F. Austin and Eastern Washington to advance and play in this game. That's certainly not is what happened. I'm also a very big East cheerleader. I've also been completely underwhelmed by Utah in the final stretch. And yet, despite all of this, because it's March Madness and anything can happen, I'm going with Utah here. Utah's a very well-balanced team, and I was actually very impressed with what they did against Stephen F. Austin. That is a really prolific offense that the Lumberjacks had. And the fact that they were really able to lock down a walk-up that was one of their best defensive performances of the year. And I think Georgetown, they were very impressive, but they were going up against one of the worst defenses in this tournament in Eastern Washington. Utah has balance. There was an article in The Culture this morning, I believe, that talked about how balance is the key. It can't just be defense or offense, and Utah is actually one of those really balanced teams, top 20 in offense and defense. So I'm going to go with the Utes here. I think that defense is going to be able to help them pull this out, but they also have the offensive firepower to get more points than Georgetown. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
All right, we're going to rapid fire the next two. Arkansas, North Carolina, Butler, Notre Dame. I'm going to go Notre Dame in the second one. I just don't see it in Butler. Arkansas, North Carolina. I think North Carolina was unbelievably disappointed in the second half. Arkansas didn't play the best game either, but I do think that North Carolina is very susceptible right now. And while I do think they're capable of a deep run, I just don't see it right now. I just don't see that. They're not heating up at the right time. You got to heat up now. Luckily, they do have a matchup against Arkansas, who I don't think is the most amazing team, but I think Bobby Portis has a big game. I think Bobby Portis has a big game and leads the Arkansas Razorbacks to a surprise victory over North Carolina. But this is March Madness, and I think a lot of these games really could go either way.
If Arkansas wants to win this game, head coach Bud Anderson needs to understand that they got to win from 3. North Carolina can't hit the 3. The only person that will dare shoot a 3 is Marcus Page on this team, and for good reason. So if they can get Portis heating up from beyond the arc, they'll be able to pull away. I don't see that happening, though. I think UNC is going to be on defensive lockdown, and I think they're really going to win the battle down low. JP Tokoto is not talked about enough. I honestly believe that. The way he's able to contort and drive with authority and finish, I think down low, this game's going to be won in the paint. And we're going to be able to paint the Sweet 16 a shade of baby blue. Tar Heels will move on. As for Butler and Notre Dame, a really unknown rivalry, as a matter of fact. These teams have met over 100 times. This is the 104th meeting, I believe. First time in the NCAA tournament. Look, I liked Butler earlier in the year, but now I am really worried with Roosevelt Jones after he went down with that injury against Texas. I don't know if he's 100% healthy. If he's not playing at his absolute best, they don't stand a chance. And then again, Notre Dame, keep in mind, it seems like forever ago, they only beat Northeastern by 4 points. This could go either way. We could be looking at another Butler magical run.
Mm-hmm.
And it would surprise me. I'm going to give it to Jerry Grant and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I know that they have a very bad history in recent years in the tournament. They lost to 10 seed Florida State, most notably as a 2 seed, most recently.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be able to move on, but do not overlook those Bulldogs.
All right, moving on to Sunday, we're going to clump all 3 2-7s together. Kansas, Wichita State, Gonzaga, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan State. One of these teams is not the favorite, really, I would say, anymore heading into the game. Slowly but surely, one of these teams has gone from a blue blood powerhouse to the underdog against a team from their own state. Wichita State now seems like the favorite heading in against Kansas. Kansas will be, of course, without Cliff Alexander. And really, this team, which was so hyped up preseason, really failed to live up to expectations, struggling in Big 12 play, and then losing in the Big 12 championship to Iowa State, who would then lose to UAB.
Timeout. Struggled in Big 12 play.
For a team that has won
the Big 12 regular season title. I know they didn't live up to expectations.
For a team, trust me, for a team that has dominated the Pac-12, the Big 12 for the past, I don't know how many years, this was unbelievably disappointing. I sit with a guy who's a massive Kansas fan at my lunch table, and I think almost every day, even on the wins, he was not happy.
Look, this team was underwhelming. But
Unbelievably underwhelming.
Struggled in Big 12 play. They won the regular season title. They made it to the championship game. That's not a struggle.
I'm aware, but they struggled. I'm sorry, they did struggle. I disagree that sure, they won, but look at the games. Look at the scores of the games. It wasn't like it was the
Big 12 basketball. You're playing in the best conference in the nation.
I'm not talking about the best teams. I'm talking about the teams that aren't that good. TCU by 3.
Look at TCU.
Listen. I know West Virginia's still in it. West Virginia by 5. TCU by 5. They lost to Iowa State. They lost to West Virginia twice. They lost to actually Iowa State twice as well. They struggled against Oklahoma State earlier on in the year. They beat Baylor by 1 point. They struggled even out of conference too, barely beating Utah, barely beating Georgetown, barely beating Florida.
But they did.
I know. I understand that, but it doesn't mean they struggled. Did I say they lost? Did I say they lost in Big 12 play? I said they struggled.
But guess what? They can barely beat Wichita State too, and they'll be able to move. So
you're going Kansas?
No, I'm just pointing out here. I think that the Big 12.
I'm aware, but it doesn't mean they didn't struggle, Jake.
They battled.
I'm going to go through the Big 12 here. I'm going to pull up Big 12 standings for.
Go ahead. Tell me. I mean, if you were the number 1 seed in the best conference in the country,
they're not the best conference. That was just proven. It was blatantly proven. They lost so much credibility by the way they played in this game, or in this tournament. They have already lost more than half, probably more than 2/3 of the teams that they had coming in. This is a conference that was good when it played against each other and not good in the tournament. Big East a couple of years ago. This is what the Big East was like. They had a couple really solid teams, and a lot of teams make the tournament, but they just blew out. I think this surprisingly, this Big East may actually be a better tournament Big East than the old Big East.
I would love to defend the Big 12 here and say it's not about the top, it's top to bottom, but I mean, there are 7 teams in the tournament from the Big 12. That leaves 3 non-tourney Big 12 teams. So this is what you get when you see. So I would actually have to agree. Big 12 has lost their title as best conference in the nation. ACC going undefeated. There's some depth issues there. I'm not going to lie. But we saw today, I think they've earned that title. Nonetheless, Kansas, Wichita State. This is the battle we have been waiting for. This is the one Wichita State has been chomping at the bit for forever. And yet I was really underwhelmed today against Indiana. I was really underwhelmed. They could not get shots to fall. This was against an Indiana team who I thought would barely scrape into the tournament.
Wow, you're going to start dissing Indiana.
Whose fans have already set up a countdown for Tom Crean's firing so they can buy him out. Look up Tom Crean. Oh, I believe it's TomCreanCountdown.com. Very lovely.
You really hated on the Big Ten this year for the conference that, in my opinion, is the second best conference in the country. Let's remember, we had the same amount as the Big 12 go through, and we still had a good portion. I mean, who lost? Purdue and
Indiana.
So we lost 2. We went 5-2. That's pretty good.
Ohio State, Wisconsin,
Maryland,
State,
Michigan State,
Maryland,
and Iowa.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's probably the second best conference besides the Big East.
Yeah, no, they
Or was it the Big East? I'm not 100% sure.
And the ACC. Big East went 4-2.
Big East went 4-2. So yeah, I would say I think you're giving a lot of criticism to a team that has one of the most explosive offenses in college basketball. 18th in the country in scoring. 18th in the country.
That didn't look explosive to me. That's 59 points.
I understand they put up, what, 76 points in the game? That's pretty good. Pretty good. This is a guy, they put up about 78 points a game. It's not easy. They were a really good offensive team. And I think you're giving a lot of criticism to a team that is good offensively. And if, by your definition of struggle, yes, they struggled in Big Ten play. I will give you that. But they beat Butler. They're not a bad team. They beat good teams. They beat SMU too.
But my point was that Wichita State struggled shooting. What is Indiana defensively?
I'm aware. I understand. No, Indiana's not great defensively. I understand that.
And that's the problem. Wichita State's going to have to make those shots fall against Kansas. I picked the Shockers at the beginning here, so I'm going to go with Wichita State. I don't know how Kansas has become overlooked after all of this. It's going to be some good Shocker defense that's going to get them through, but they have to improve in terms of shooting. If they perform the way they did against Indiana, they do not stand a chance.
So why does this criticism come now for Wichita State but not for UAB, who shot 7% worse than them?
Because UAB is not supposed to win that game.
All right, that's fair. But I don't think they shot. I mean, sure, 41% from the field is not bad. It's not good either. But 41% is not horrifying. They shot bad from 3. That's where they really struggle from.
Yeah.
But they got to the line 34 times. 34. That's exceptional. They only turned the ball over 7 times.
Wait, did they get to the line 34 times, or did they shoot 34 free throws?
They got to they shot 34 free throws.
Okay, I was about to say.
68 times, Jake. 68 free throws. 34 times they shot. 29 times they made it. Only 7 turnovers. They played a clean game, and they had 81 points. I think they struggled from the field in terms of shooting. But I think this team played a pretty solid game overall. I think this is a team like I want to look at Kansas. Kansas in terms of shooting, in terms of play was good. But the turnovers is what scared me. In turnover battle, New Mexico State beat them. 14 turnovers for Kansas against a team that obviously there's going to be a little bit of the we're playing a crap team effect, which could affect them in that way, and obviously that would cause them probably to have a couple more turnovers. I'm gonna go Wichita State. I think they play a cleaner game. I think they keep the ball away from Kansas, and I think Van Vliet comes up big, and the Wichita State Shockers are moving on. All right.
We're going to find out how effective New Mexico State is at forcing turnovers. Here we go from basketballreference.com. Wow. New Mexico State is 309th in turnovers committed. They are 95th in the nation in turnovers forced. 95th.
Yes, but guess who's
That's
better
decent.
than that? Guess who's a better... I know Wichita State had a bad defensive game against Indiana, but Wichita State's a good defensive team.
Wichita State is a good defensive team. Wichita State's win this game. That's what I think. We will see.
All right. We got to get through the other 7 versus 2. I think there's one 7 versus 2 that we definitely know that we agree on the pick. Iowa Gonzaga. Gonzaga, not a stellar performance against North Dakota State. Iowa had a game. I'm going Gonzaga. I think it's all right to have some first-round jitters. I don't think there was a team, really, who didn't have first-round jitters. I think Duke even had first-round jitters at the very beginning against Robert Morris. I think that's all right. I think Gonzaga didn't play a great game. I think Iowa performed exceptionally, and while I hate to pick against the Big Ten, I'm going to go with the Zags.
I thought, where was this Iowa? Yeah.
Okay. This Iowa beat Ohio State twice.
The same.
Went 12 and 6.
We are about to see how much that says.
Beat Maryland. Beat Maryland. Beat UNC.
Lost to Penn State.
I'm aware they lost to Penn State, but teams lose to Penn State. It's not like...
I'm just saying, this is a team... my friend is also... I also happen to sit at the lunch table with an Iowa fan, and he is frequently disappointed with his team. If we're going
okay, to be fair, Iowa wasn't supposed to be this good. Iowa has overperformed as well.
And I'm saying... And this was taken to a whole nother level. I mean, maybe I just didn't realize how good they were. Aaron White, phenomenal. Again, Davidson is a very bad defense, and I might be giving them the benefit of the doubt there. But Jock, really, I was really impressed with Jock. So we will see. That seems like my new catchphrase.
We will see.
We shall see. I am literally George Clemenceau. But I do expect Gonzaga to still come away with a victory in that one. I think the real interesting matchup is Michigan State.
There we go.
And Virginia. Wow. Who knew 7-2 matchups could be so sexy?
And it's a rematch. It's a rematch. Got it last year.
There are some teams you just do not want to pick against. Some coaches you do not want to pick against in the month of March. Don't let him get into his zone. Don't let him get into his zone.
Question. Did you pick against Rick Pitino in this round? Because then that kind of deflates your whole point about there are certain coaches you shouldn't pick against. Because he's definitely a coach you shouldn't pick against.
Let's take a look. What is Rick Pitino's...
I understand that Izzo has that extra, something that really, I think Pitino's an excellent coach, but Izzo's got that magic to him. I would agree. But Rick Pitino is quite the coach himself.
He is. But if it comes down to a March coaching battle, I think I'm going to take Izzo. Just because he has it in March. He has that something to him.
I mean, to be fair, he has won.
That. You literally just said that he has
I know it's something else, but he does have less. And obviously, I think he's coached for, a little bit less time, but Rick Pitino's got the extra Division I tournament over him. He has been to more Final Fours. But to be fair, once again, Izzo has coached a lot less time, and this is a they're at two very different levels in their program right now.
And let's remember, I think it's fair to say that Michigan State's peaking right now.
Their performance against Wisconsin for much of that game, I wouldn't say peaking. I would say they peaked at Wisconsin, and I think they dropped a little bit for Georgia. But once again, first round jitters. You don't know necessarily how they're going to perform in the next round.
They played well in that first half. They let Georgia hang around, but that's because they're not a good free throw shooting team. I think with Michigan State, we are seeing a team that is hitting its peak at the right time of year. A 7 seed, getting hot at the right time. Who knows where that could lead? I'm not saying Michigan State's winning a championship, but I'm certainly saying they're going to beat a 2 seed in Virginia, who is without Justin Anderson. I'm picking
Justin Anderson is Justin Anderson out, or is he still? No, isn't he playing injured? Yeah, he's been playing.
He's what? I mean, what did he do today against Belmont?
Oh, I don't think he did that well. I mean, to be fair, nobody on Virginia played that phenomenally in that game. I mean, you go and struggle against a 15 seed. But how about we talk about the guy who really, Justin Anderson, by the way, 4 of 6, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 15 points. Well, you're talking about the wrong guy, though. He's not the star of the team. The star of the team is one Malcolm Brogdon. 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 22 points.
Belmont's not a very good defense there, so there you go. And Virginia played great against Belmont.
Georgia's not that great of a team either.
Virginia played great against Belmont. Michigan State pulled it out against Georgia.
Neither of them played great. Neither of them played great. By the way, just to talk about, like, Georgia has one of the worst offenses and a bad defense, too.
But how they here?
To be fair. Because you just said, like, Belmont's really bad, Jake.
They have a bad offense. They have a bad defense.
Both teams.
They are also a 10 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Both teams. I know, but both 10 seed. Okay, I think they probably were, in my opinion, the worst 10 seed. But yeah, I would have taken any of the other 10 seeds. To be fair, I think both teams played teams that are worse than them, and I think both teams underperformed.
You have very high standards, don't you?
When you allow 41 points in the second half, I definitely say that you underperformed.
Are we talking about Virginia?
Oh, I'm talking about Michigan State, and when you keep it close with a 15 seed, I definitely say you underperformed.
First of all, Belmont. Wait. Who gave up 41 points in the second half?
Michigan State.
Oh, that's concerning.
I think both teams played. Okay, we gotta get to the predictions because we are having this tendency of blabbering about.
We have like our own little technicalities. I've talked about prediction. I've told you that prediction. Don't let him get into his zone. He's already in his zone. Don't let him get into his zone. He's already in his zone. Michigan State moves on over Virginia. Oh, I thought it was too harsh in the Big Ten.
Virginia.
I'll pick Virginia if you want, if I'm being too harsh in the Big Ten.
No, I got Virginia. Look, revenge factor. It's the rematch of last year. I think that people looked at Virginia, they saw them lose Justin Anderson, they wrote him off. I think Justin Anderson, he played his first good game since coming back. He's not the All-American anymore, but he's serviceable. And by serviceable, I mean a guy who's probably going to put up around 15 points, which is pretty solid in college basketball. I think Malcolm Brogdon is another guy who can put up 16, 17 points. And Michigan State had a good run in the tournament. They have played well over the last couple weeks. I mean, look at this. They forced overtime against Wisconsin. They've beaten Maryland, Ohio State, Indiana, and Purdue. All tournament teams.
Purdue? We beat Purdue.
They beat so many tournament teams coming in. And that is incredibly impressive. And if you look at the games, the last time they really were outmatched in a game and didn't really have a shot to win, you got to go back to Maryland on January 17th. They kept it close with Wisconsin. They lost in overtime against Minnesota. They lost by 5 to Illinois. They lost by 2 to Nebraska. Most of the losses, they were in the game. And most games this year, speaking of it, they've had a shot. I really only see one game where they haven't had a shot to win, and that was the Maryland game. So they stay in games. But I think Virginia has the team to close them out, and I think they do in an incredibly close game. But to be fair, it wouldn't shock me if Michigan State wins. I just hope we see a much improved performance by both teams in a great game like we saw last year.
If it's a close game, be ready to sweat it out in East Lansing. Michigan State needs to work on those free throws. I'm already regretting the pick.
All right. I don't know if you have San Diego State winning, but there may be people who do.
Do not sleep on this Aztecs team. They can't make a shot for their life. But let me tell you something. Their defense is medicine. And we know what Duke does in the tournament. You never know when to trust Duke.
Wait, we know what Duke does. Yes, they win national championships. This is one of the best programs in the history of college basketball. How many times has Coach K won a championship? What do they do in the tournament? Sure, they've had early exits, but they also win quite a bit.
Someone there is a very defensive Duke. I am pointing out that Duke can tend to be upset prone. San Diego State is going to bring a good defense. Is it going to be a close game in the end? No. I expect Duke to win by 20 in a very sloppy game, because that's just the way the Aztecs force you to play. Duke wins this game. Don't sleep on the Aztecs. This is a game that you shouldn't record. Watch this game. These are one of those March games. This is your UNI Kansas trap game. You never know. I'm still picking the Blue Devils, though.
All right. I agree. I think San Diego State is not a team you should sleep on. But I think that when it comes to talent and the level of play, I know this Duke team has had its struggles. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're an unbeatable team. But this is a damn good team. This is a really good. I mean, they lost to Notre Dame. I'll accept that. And they've lost to them now twice on the year, and they lost 2 games earlier on in the year. They probably shouldn't have lost to NC State and Miami. But this team, Tyus Jones, Quinn Cook, who, what was the streak? They said it during the 20-something games straight, hitting at least 1 3. Tyus Jones, Justice Winslow, they've got 3 first-rounders right there with Tyus Jones, Justice Winslow, and Jaleel Okafor. And the number 1 pick in Jaleel Okafor, and in my opinion, the best player in college basketball. Now respect to San Diego State being a good defensive team and all. But how exactly do they plan to go about stopping Jaleel Okafor? That guy, it's not something that you just say, all right, let's go double team him. Don't double team him. You're leaving somebody wide open for 3, and this is a team that can hit the 3. I don't think that they are ready to go up against Jaleel Okafor. I think he provides such a matchup issue that there are a few teams in this tournament who have a guy who can actually match up with him.
I don't think San Diego's defense is going to be the issue for them. I think it's their offense.
Oh, I think it's going to be their defense. I think if they're going to win, they're going to need their defense to be able to stop them. And while I know this defense is a stud defense, I'm expecting a lot of points from Duke. Because I think that the size they have and their rebounding ability, because of Okafor, and let's remember, Okafor didn't even lead them in rebounding. That was Justice Winslow, who had 11. That's absurd. I mean, he's 6'6", and he's getting tons of boards. Who is going to address these guys? How are they going to stop? And they can make them shoot a low field goal percentage. But Duke's going to score a ton because they're going to get the rebounds.
I'm expecting Duke to score in the 60s and the Aztecs to score in the 40s.
Here's my thing. San Diego State is one of the worst rebounding teams in the country.
Why they're one of the worst scoring teams in the country?
They have good defense, and they're really... I don't think they're going to get frankly, I don't think they're going to get the ball on offense. I think Duke's going to have lots of extra possessions. And when you give Duke extra possessions, they run up the score. And as good as San Diego State is defensively, if you shoot 30% from the field, but you're getting the ball 2 or 3 times every possession, you're still going to get a high score. I got Duke. The long way of saying, I got Duke.
really like heated about how unbelievable Duke is.
Because I think they are an unbelievable team, and I think they don't get the respect that they deserve. I don't have them making the Final Four, but I
4 games and they're 1 seed.
I understand that they are a 1 seed. I understand that they are a 1 seed, but every second now, after the Mercer loss, it's, oh my god, this team is such an upset-prone team. They are also a tournament-winning prone team. It's a little bit unfair. I understand they've been upset. I understand that, but they're still one of the best. It's like, let's say, for example, this. And Jake, put yourself in their shoes. Your team has won tons of national championships, and you take 2 early exits, and that's tough. And I understand you hate Duke, so this could bias your opinion here. But put yourself, if this was UCLA, would you not feel a little bit upset if they were criticizing you after you were one of the most successful teams and you've been successful?
America believes.
I know what America believes, but would you
making the national championship game? If that's not enough respect, then you don't give enough respect to them. Did you have Duke in the national championship game?
Jake, I am trying to say that you just said that they are an upset-prone team, and
they have tended to be upset-prone fast. And
okay, let's go Duke season by season.
This is when we blab it.
I'm still gonna go season by season. If you want to move us into the next game, be my guest.
All I'm saying is, you're saying Duke isn't getting enough respect this year. I'm telling you that.
I don't think you should call them an upset-prone team. I don't think you could. I don't think you should.
If you thought you would,
here's why. Can I give you the reason? Can I give you my reason?
Do they need? How much more respect do they need? Should they be?
Listen. I know they lost they have lost twice now in the first round, but the other times, Elite Eight, Sweet 16, national champions, Sweet 16. Then they had 2 early exits, Sweet 16, Final Four, Sweet 16, national champion, Sweet 16, NCAA finalist, Elite Eight, round of 32. We're back to not great. Then we take a couple of years off, NCAA finalist, round of 32, national champions. I understand they have their early exits.
That's a lot of early exits sprinkled in there.
And guess how many deep runs there are, though? It's the majority of them are deep runs.
I'm saying they tend to be upset more often than not. I'm saying they're an upset-prone team.
I think any team that's in the tournament every single year.
Oh, don't pull this on me. Pull this on me.
Oh, what other team right now? What other team has been upset? Let's go to Michigan State. You want to talk about a team that's upset prone? You want to talk about a team that's upset prone?
National respect. Duke is an overlooked team.
No, but here's my thing. You're saying that they are an upset prone team.
Audacity to put
Duke. No, Jake, you're saying they're upset. Jake, you're saying they're upset. Listen, Jake, you're saying they're an upset-prone team when...
Yes!
You want to know Michigan State? You think Michigan State, just because they're in the tournament almost every year, they've had a ton of early exits, too. They had, Elite Eight, Sweet 16, first round. And they had Final Four runner-up, first, second, Final Four, first, Elite Eight, first.
First of all, you need to chill with this Coach K man crush.
I'm not crushing on Coach K. I'm not even crushing on it. I'm saying that they are upset-prone. When I could say the same thing about almost every elite team in the country.
Duke has not earned enough respect nationally, and that they're being overlooked.
They have earned respect. They earn the respect.
You just said Duke's not being respected.
By you!
Oh.
Jake, you're saying they're upset prone. Jake!
I wish you would clear that up. You just told me that Duke is not getting the respect they deserve.
From you, and I said that right after you said the bracket thing. I said from you.
Say that.
We can rewind this. We can go back and play. And I said right after you said the bracket thing, I said from you.
And Duke is expected to make the national championship game.
Jake, the fact that I'm saying they're upset prone, I could say that on every elite program because they get into the tournament so often that they're bound to lose a lot of early games. Kansas as well.
Yes, they are.
Michigan State is upset prone.
Duke and Kansas are the two blue bloods that are most upset prone.
What about Michigan State? Already, they had a streak where they went first round, Elite Eight, first round, Final Four, first round, second round. So they had deep, short, deep, short, deep, short, short.
But what seeds were they? What seed? When I say upset prone, because Michigan State also constantly an upset seed.
They were pretty good.
You show me. Break it for me.
Here. I'll send you.
No,
I'll send you a link.
Because I'm telling you, Duke has been upset.
Calm down. I'll send you a link.
Calm down.
I'll send you the link. I said I'll send you the link like 5 times. Like I also said, right after you showed me the bracket, you are not giving them enough respect.
This is why we shouldn't be doing shows at 12 today.
Okay, Jake, let's be fair. It would end up like this anyway.
This is completely true, because you like Duke too much, and I can't
No, I
wait to
don't
see
like Duke too much, Jake. You dislike them. You dislike Coach K. And it's interesting. You say that you're all about how you impact players and also off the field is important for you. You've judged him completely on his behavior on the court. Yes or no? And it's an irrational hate. It's the same irrational hate you have for Greg Schiano.
Okay, I'm done with this. If I hear the Greg Schiano word one more time, I swear, honest.
My irrational hate. I will admit my irrational hate. I have an irrational hate for the Big East. They have earned a lot of respect from me. I have an irrational hate for Villanova. They have yet to earn respect from me, but they very well could. What else do I have an irrational hate for? Colin Kaepernick. I have an irrational hate for Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, no, that's rational. That is completely rational.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, look, he wore the Miami Dolphins hat, but the way I think you have to go back to the game earlier this. I think it was last year in the playoffs. They lost the game, and the way he handled it, he took so much of the blame on himself. You gotta respect that. I think I think that he wants to win a lot, and he's may not be the nicest guy, but he has like the drive to win. And once again, I don't know. I just feel like I have a lot of irrational hates too. We should have an irrational hate show. All right, we gotta go quickly. Wisconsin, Oregon. I've got Wisconsin. Kaminsky.
I don't see no link.
Can we get through? Jake, I will send you the link. I will send you the link.
Kidding. Bruh, I am kidding.
Wisconsin, Oregon. Kaminsky. Wisconsin wins.
I don't know, man. Revenge factor. I think
They played each other before? When was the last time Oregon played Wisconsin in the tournament?
Last year?
Really? They played them last year?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Who do you think eliminated them?
Wisconsin didn't get eliminated by anybody.
No, Wisconsin eliminated them.
Oh. All right. That's
double
cool.
standard.
Oh, that's not a double standard. That's not me not remembering.
Wisconsin. Oh, so now that you remember, are you going to change your pick?
No, because the difference is the seeding change. I went with the favorite in that one, not the 8 seed against a 1 seed who has the second best player in the country.
No, Wisconsin moves on.
All right.
Wait, I thought Duke had the second best player and the third best.
They have the first. They have the first, and they have Jaleel Okafor. Jaleel Okafor's first.
Ooh.
Who would you say is better than Jaleel Okafor?
You ever heard of some Karl Anthony Towns guy?
Karl Towns. Karl Towns isn't. Karl Towns may be one of the most talented, but he's not even in the top 3 for a Naismith Award. You want to go to top 3 for Naismith?
At Kentucky, you couldn't do that at Kentucky.
I'm telling you,
you should work.
He's not one of the favorites. I'm telling you, Naismith's favorites.
Of course, he's not the favorite. You can't do that. I'm still saying he's the best.
He's not. Here's why I tell you, he wasn't even the player from his own team named as a finalist.
Oh, who was named as a finalist?
Willie Cauley-Stein was named as a finalist, and not him.
Bring him
Darius
in.
Grant, Jaleel Okafor, and Kaminsky. Where is D'Angelo Russell? The world will never know. Frankly, D'Angelo Russell should have been there, and
Maybe he needs to win games.
But I've got to say that Jaleel Okafor is the best for me. And I think that Kaminsky is the second best, and I think that's a big impact. I really disagree that Willie Cauley-Stein should be there. I think it's mostly because of how good he is defensively. I think that may be what gave it to him. Dayton, Oklahoma. I just want to get this out of the way. I picked Dayton to win, and I'm going to pick them again, but with little confidence in the fact that they actually will win. But Scoochie. Come on, Scoochie. Pull through. I'll go Dayton.
Dayton. On one hand, I really want them to lose. Other hand, I'd love to see an upset. And, I think it's come full circle. I think Dayton never deserved to be on the bubble in the first place. They never should have been in the first four in the first place. They did get put there. They got a first, basically got a home game. And in the end, they got to play at home, practically, in their home state of Ohio. They're going to get to do it again against Oklahoma. I think the buck stops here. I wouldn't be surprised if Dayton moved on against Oklahoma. We saw them not pull through last year against North Dakota State. We really don't know what's going to happen, obviously. I'll still take Boomer Sooner. But Archie Miller, he's done a really good job with that Dayton team in March.
All right, West Virginia, Maryland. In a game that most people could care less about because whoever wins this game, most people are just saying, Kentucky's going to win it anyways in the next round. I got West Virginia. I picked Valpo over Maryland. I think West Virginia played well at times for Buffalo. They let him get back in the game a couple times, but I'll go with West Virginia, though at the end of the day, like most people, I really don't think whoever comes out of here is going to go any farther. But I'll go with the Mountaineers.
I'm not convinced by either of these teams, to be perfectly honest. But I think West Virginia silenced a lot of doubters today, including myself. I had Buffalo winning that game. I think that their two guards are healthy and have proven that they are not going to let injuries get in the way. I do think they'll be able to get past Maryland. I think it'll be a great game, though. It'll be a really tight match.
All right, well, Northern Iowa, some people had Wyoming winning. Northern Iowa came in and gave them a beatdown. Seth Tuttle played well. To be fair, the whole team played well, and I love Seth Tuttle. Definitely one of my favorite players.
You also love Rick Pitino, though. It's going to be tough for you to choose.
I do love Rick Pitino. But I did say Seth Tuttle was going to be the best player in this region. And I think this Northern Iowa team is a very balanced team. I think they can get scoring from more than one side. I mean, look at the bench today. They had 3 players in double figures. They ended up with, let's see here, 41 points off the bench compared to 30 by their starters. That's exceptional. I think Northern Iowa picks up an upset win. While Northern Iowa silenced doubters, Louisville may have added doubters from the way they played today. I think Northern Iowa wins the game. And I think it's tough because I think Rick Pitino has a team that is unbelievably one-dimensional because it seems like whenever Rozier has a good game, everybody else struggles. And when he doesn't, you get Montrezl Harrell playing well and nobody else. They only get 1 or 2 players playing well per game. It doesn't seem like they can get a consistent effort all year long. But I've got Northern Iowa advancing to take on Villanova.
I'm going to pull up this article just because I've referenced it so much from the Cauldron about that balance. Interestingly enough, also, one of the teams I mentioned as good picks, if you're looking for balanced teams, which tend to be very effective, was Northern Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take them here. I'm still not completely convinced by Louisville, and I think that the Panthers have a really good thing going.
I would agree. All right, well, that brings us to the end. Jake, themes may have changed a bit, but really quickly, anything you want to update? Anybody? Any picks you want to change for the Final Four? Or are you still set on your picks? Do you still?
I don't change picks. I do not change picks. But Michigan State.
We are aware. We are very aware, Jake.
Michigan State, if you do not start making your free throws, so help me, God, I'm going to lose 10 years of my life picking you to go to the Final Four.
Jake,
close out games.
Was it Pacers? Who was it? Pacers who? Who did you have in the final? Pacers Thunder. Pacers Thunder was the one you didn't change, and yeah. Also, Solomon Kalou, that one also could have been changed.
The good old days. You know, Solomon Kalou was, as a matter of fact, he was jailed for a night because he got caught vandalizing the Berlin Wall. Solomon Kalou. I didn't know anything about soccer. I just said, you know what, this Kalou kid, he's going to lead France in scoring. He was transferred to Hertha Berlin in Germany, and now he's vandalizing national and international landmarks, so Solomon Kalou, shame on you.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go through it. Jake, you have Utah or Georgetown winning.
Utah.
So that's one upset. And then in the next round, you have Michigan State. That's 2. Wichita State. That's 3. Maryland. That's 4. Northern Iowa. That's 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe I have 5 too. For
Because we all have the same acceptance center.
5,
Michigan State, you have Ohio State.
7 upsets. I'm gonna have to change that a bit in my round by round, which I don't have, but I have 7, which would be 2 more than there were this round. So if that happens, I feel like that would be one of the first times in a very long time. But Jake, you've got 5, so that kind of answers the question. But what do you think the chances are that we have more upsets in this round than last?
Oh, I think it's absolutely possible. I mean, obviously it's possible. Wow, that's some really
Absolutely possible.
hard-hitting analysis right there. What are the odds? I will put them at. I will say 35%.
I'll put it at
30%.
You know what? Because I have 7, I'm gonna have to put it at 50-50. I'll split it down the middle. Look, it's gonna be an exciting day tomorrow. I mean, after tomorrow and Sunday, we're gonna have to wait. Everybody will have to survive a couple days without March Madness. I know it's difficult. Well, it's getting late, and Jake is about to fall asleep, or at least it looks like it. So we'll close it up right there. Thank everybody for tuning in. If your team's playing tomorrow, good luck. Go Bucks, go Bruins. Lots of bees. And have a great rest of your sleepy time.